Journalist and Daily Ledger contributor Kimberly Dvorak. Kimberly, this coalition that the president is ostensibly building right now, we've heard Germany being rather tepid about this. Turkey has flat out said no. Who exactly does that leave that's in the area that has trained forces?
Well, the president and his officials went out yesterday on the Sunday talk shows, and they actually were greeted with those very questions. Who's in the coalition? And right from the chief of staff, from President Obama on down to Secretary Kerry, no one would name names. They all say that everybody signed on to an agreement that they're going to look at ISIS and say they're a bad terrorist organization. Well, heck, our kids can go out and sign a document saying ISIS is a terrible organization. But until people actually start coming forward and saying we're going to provide sorties, we're going to provide boots on the ground. And by the way, I'd like to find out where all of the demonstrations in the Middle East have been against ISIS. We haven't seen any demonstrations in any Middle Eastern country because,
no, we haven't.
Because they may not like the fact that they made these little highly produced videos of the beheadings, but after all that, they kind of tend to agree with ISIS and the way they're going about things they may not center or align with.
Yeah, that's an important point you made there. They tend to agree. They tend to agree in certain tenets. I don't know if they agree about beheading people necessarily. Maybe they do. But let's face it, in the Middle East, who do you trust? Who do you trust in the Middle East that isn't necessarily going to at one point turn on you and use those American given weapons on you at some point?
Yeah, well, we reported here a few weeks back in a story called, the lead up, are we prepping for war with Iran? We have been arming to the teeth the Middle East. They've bought billions of dollars. We've given them billions of dollars of weapons. And where are they now? Hello, where are you now? We've been giving you all this stuff, and it's like, well, we got to build a coalition, and especially with Turkey. I mean, it's a NATO ally, one for all for one, and Turkey has flat out said, no, you are not going to be able to use our airspace, and that's critical if we go in to do these airstrikes, especially in Syria. It's critical, and Turkey has flat out said no. It's one point to keep in mind. ISIS does have 40 of Turkish diplomats that they have kidnapped. They kidnapped a couple months back.
But there's also conflicting reports. I hear that Turkey's maybe aiding the Islamic State kind of backhandedly because they don't want the Kurds to have too much power. The Kurds are right next to them. So,
yeah.
They're all intertwined. You're calling this a proxy war.
Yeah.
The president won't even call it a war. He's calling it counterterrorism. We all know it's a war. Islamic State is at war with us, so therefore we are at war with them, whether he likes it or not. But you're calling it a proxy war. What do you mean?
Yeah, proxy war is something where we actually, will provide intelligence and we'll help out, but boots on the ground is who's actually doing the fighting. So when you look at, the Afghanistan, we went in, we got rid of the Taliban and Al-Qaeda, we used the Northern Alliance, and that was a proxy war there. The Russians had a proxy war there as well. So when we go in this situation, it's been reported that we are going to be now arming the Syrian Free Army, who, the president referred to as, dentists and architects and such, and they weren't capable, but now all of a sudden they're capable. However, yesterday, news broke that, it was reported widely, not on the mainstream media, but The Hill and some other publications reported that ISIS now has aligned with the Syrian Free Army, and they decided they're going to go after Assad. So we're now going to be arming and giving the Syrian Free rebels an army. We're going to be providing them with $500 million worth of weapons and training, and they're aligned with ISIS? I mean, who's kidding who in this?
Well, it's also pretty well known and underreported that this, quote, Syrian Free Rebels, the moderate rebels as Obama calls them, are also jihadists. So why in the world would you give aid and support to jihadists who are sworn to kill us, the infidels? It's crazy. What we need to be doing, in my opinion, I want to hear yours, is, bite the bullet and work with Bashar al-Assad to eradicate this evil in his country and then into Iraq.
Yeah. Now, that's a very good point you bring up here. It's currently been negotiated with Iran, of course, another one of our enemies, but they actually offered up a deal that would essentially give us an off-ramp, because they don't want ISIS, they don't want to fight ISIS. They actually are fighting ISIS themselves. They're trying to get rid of them. But they offered up a plan stating that Bashar Assad, possibly in an effort to get rid of ISIS, have a coalition, get rid of them, and then the president could stay in power there. But with he needed to bring on like a different prime minister that would share some of the ability, some of the problems they're facing, and bring a more of a inclusive government together, kind of like what they're doing in Iraq. Kind of offer that for 2 years, and then they could have elections again in 2 years, and that kind of gives everybody an off ramp, and that would allow us to align with the actual maybe less bad guys in the situation, and it gets the president out of Assad must go scenario, because let's face it, Syria was a secular country,
right.
And now, just like Libya, we went in and look what we did with Libya. I mean, and other Middle Eastern countries, this is why they're not jumping on board with the United States, because our help turned into Libya. Look what we did there.
But Obama's never going to go for that. He'll never go for that plan.
Well, let me just make one point here as well. The Americans are starting to look at this, and you talk to liberal Democrats and conservative Republicans, and they all agree that ISIS is a threat. And let's keep in mind that this war is not political. This isn't partisan. This is the American people. It's our national security, and it's about time the White House and the 535 folks that are in Congress start looking at it from that perspective, because that's what it's going to take to get to a positive resolution.
Never going to happen with this White House, Kimberly. It's never, not when they come out and say, oh, Islam is a religion of peace, and this is just some sort of odd faction, and the president comes out and says the Islamic State is not Islam. Come on. Yeah. You got to call a spade here. Let's face it.
Well, we can try. We can try.
Kimberly, thanks. Coming up next.